Science 16.
Kyle the Hairy once spoke of a place where the lands between might truly exist, a place where bosses one-shot you and ladies speak like Shakespeare doth had a lobotomy. Where is the Elden Ring? This is that story. Beep doth boop.
Now entering the facility.
Gamers, the biggest addition to one of the biggest games of all time is finally here. Along with it comes new weapons, new locations, new lore that George R.R. Martin claims he understands. It is once again time for us to science the lands between. More specifically, the lands themselves. Where is Elden Ring? First of all, where the lands between is not. I know between here is going to make some of you think of extra dimensions or something similar sounding, but that's bad sci-fi's fault. You exist in 3 spatial dimensions, meaning that you can move in 3 directions that are each in different planes, separated by 90 degrees. Now, I ask you, can you identify an extra dimension somewhere in here that is in a different plane between these 3? Spoiler alert, no you cannot. There is no additional space between these spaces in our space. I blame the so-called string theorists. Their largely academic exercise may have identified numerous extra dimensions in space and time, but only mathematically. Somehow the public and pop culture took this academic effort and turned it into an idea of hidden spaces in our space-time. In reality, what everyone is thinking of is probably parallel universes, another concept that so far only exists in complicated equations. Misunderstandings aside, I think there's still a way to make the in-betweenness of the lands between work from a scientific perspective. It involves one of the most famous diagrams in all of physics. You are here. You have the ability to move in 3 directions, but you can also make those moves over time. So, for the sake of seeing all space-time all together, we'll suppress one spatial dimension and make that the time or temporal dimension. Now, from Einstein, we know that nothing can move faster than the speed of light, more distance over time than light can travel. So let's put a boundary that denotes that velocity and then rotate it around all of your spatial possibilities. This cone shows everywhere you could possibly go in space and time at the present moment. We can also show where you could have possibly come from up until this instant. This is a light cone, a view of special relativity first proposed by Hermann Minkowski, Albert Einstein's former professor. Your light cone is a fairly simple diagram that I suggest you try drawing sometime, and it represents way more than you think. To me, if the lands between is some separate space-time filled with naked katana wielders with wings, wood, by the way, then it needs to be, to get to it, difficult if not impossible, like beating Melania. Unless you already beat her, like me, a true gamer.
It took you literally hours to beat her?
That's only because chat was giving me bad advice, Arya.
And you used summons?
Summons are part of the game. If you use part of the game to beat the game, you do what you... I'm out. I don't care. One light cone only represents one moment in space and time. As time and space change, so does your light cone. And so your life in this universe doesn't look like this single image. It looks more like this represented by these light cones. And you can imagine even many more than that for each instantaneous moment. Now, all of these moments and these light cones connected causally represents what's called your world line, your path through space and time. Now, though the universe is old and huge and seems infinitely traversable like Yo Mama, your pathway through space-time actually does have boundaries. What? You didn't like the Yo Mama joke? I thought it was pretty good. Remember that, I respawned, remember that because nothing with mass can travel at or faster than the speed of light, we put a limit on where your world line could go. Getting more sciencey, event 1 here can only be related to or cause something else if it is inside the light cone. Similarly, event 1 can only be caused by or related to another event if that event was inside of the light cone. If an event is outside the light cone for an observer or particle or object, then it follows that that observer would have to break the universal speed limit to influence it in some way, which is impossible. The two will never interact, like you with the last Song of Ice and Fire book. It's never gonna be done. Get over it. In these Minkowski diagrams, the places and times your world lines can cross are called time-like, and the places and times it will never interact with, because of light speed, are called space-like. But there's another, even more coolier sounding word for all of this inaccessible universe. Oh great, I respawned without my runes. You will never find yourself in a space-time that you cannot be causally connected to. Otherwise, how did you get there in the first place? Physicists call this region outside of your light cones elsewhere. It's the vast region of the universe in which you will never be. It will always be somewhere else. It will never be here because of the speed of light limit. It will always be elsewhere. It's an awesome term that does sound like the title of a Neil Gaiman book, and it's also the location of the facility.
Did you just give away our coordinates?
No, it's okay, Arya. They literally can't get here. Oh. It's PvP time. I'll be right back. Arya, can you take over for a second? I gotta go corpse pile this nerd.
While he is out there losing...
I'm not losing.
While he is out there losing, you should know that even though some space is elsewhere, the shape of your light cone can change, and therefore change how you move through space and time. For example, if you start going really, really fast, the shape of your space contracts while your time elongates. Or if you get too close to a space-time warping mass like a black hole, where you'd have to go faster than light to escape, your light cones all start pointing towards the singularity. Your only possible future is annihilation.
Son of a biscuit!
Told you. Where it gets really interesting is when space-time gets warped enough to allow time travel at sublight velocities.
Damn you, Miyazaki! Damn you to video game hell!
But that's for another time. Remind me to tell you about cylindrical megastructures that violate causality later.
I rolled. This is the roll button. When you press the roll button, you should roll. I did.
He's going to be there for a while.
I will drop kick you in front of your wife, Miyazaki.
I'm not mad, I pressed roll. I think that if the lands between are supposed to be forever separate from your reality or what you're able to interact with, then having them be always elsewhere is a perfectly reasonable interpretation, even though we're talking about a video game where a forever baby in a hairy cocoon is captured by a blood daddy with a trident. Of course, this also works for a number of other sci-fi stories that confuse extra dimensions with being somewhere inaccessible, and the cool thing is that it teaches you about real space-time at the same time. They are the lands between your light cones, if you will. You're welcome, George Railroad Martin. Until next time. No!
Now exiting the facility.
Thank you so much to the very nerdy staff here at the facility with their direct and substantial support in the creation of this here video. If you want to join the facility, if you want to drape on a silky white set of armor that makes you fat roll, if you want to see videos early, if you want to have private members only live streams with me each month, that's patreon.com/Kyle Hill. And if you want to get your name in the facilities in every video, support us just enough on this Patreon page /Kyle Hill. I already said that. As you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds of you. How am I gonna, it's not like I'm trying to pass the time. See, I think this concept of elsewhere works very well for other sci-fi universes, specifically something like a Star Wars. When Star Wars says in a galaxy far, far away, I think that gives you the impression that you could get there to that galaxy. But if that galaxy was technically elsewhere, that further separates this fantastic world from us and makes it seem, I don't know, I think maybe that's what more George was going for. Yeah, so I think my runes were, no. Was it in that cave? Now, what does that mean? Now, if that flying thing is just, oh, there it goes. Just, oh, okay. Thanks for watching. Where am I?